Welcome to a very brief description of the 4EMU Safe Work Procedure Generator and Safety Auditing System. First, a quick explanation of why this program has been created. In Western Australia, new laws covering mine sites and workplace health and safety came into effect in 2023. The new laws increased fines for non-compliance in some cases by over 600%. Industrial manslaughter is also now a real likelihood for supervisors, managers, and directors who deliberately or through ignorance ignore the new legislation. After over 30 years of working in mining in Australia and overseas, it was very obvious to me that many mining company executives and managers would like to comply but do not know how to, and many safety personnel have never done the work, so have no real concept of the hazards involved, only what they have read in a book. I would like $1 for every executive or safety officer who actually believes AJSA is all that is needed to make the job safe. They honestly believe AJSA written by a person who may never have done the job is acceptable. The industry has moved away from safe work procedures, which are what the legislation requires, and now rely on a quickly thrown together hazard assessment to try to fulfill the requirements of the Act. So to be very clear, a hazard assessment or AJSA is not a safe work procedure, contrary to what safety officers state. DMIR's website clearly mentions the difference, and the legislation is also very clear, but industry seems to have taken the easiest route to try to comply, and unfortunately many companies will be found wanting in court if there is a serious injury. I'm sure everyone who has worked on different mines would tell you that the requirements differ from site to site in regards to JSAs. One site wants as little as possible, another wants more. No one has a standard, and the only guarantee that I could give with a handwritten JSA is that it would be missing relevant information. No one remembers all hazards for all tools and equipment. It is impossible. Every handwritten JSA is faulty and leaves the company liable for not providing a safe workplace. JSAs were originally designed to collect hazard information to write safe work procedures. Now they have become de facto safe work procedures that do not tell personnel how to do the job. Hazards assessments are different than supplying the technical aspects of the task. So to overcome people missing important aspects of a hazard, we have compiled several hundred hazards with all the relevant links to standards and videos pertaining to that hazard. As an example, we will have a quick look at the hazards, risks, and controls for an angle grinder. This information is provided to give the user guidance and information, as many accidents happen because of a complete lack of information provided to the worker. The database uses entered links and entered images that are attached to the hazard. These are stored in the database. The links and images can be used by other hazards or in work steps later in the program. We have opened up the hazards and entered a search for angle grinder. The controls entered for the angle grinder have been compiled from numerous sources. We will show you one source shortly. The yellow buttons are all the information we have attached to the angle grinder for the user to view whenever they want. Let's open up one of the links. The link to DMIR's notice on using angle grinders is interesting. So the user is now taken to the relevant link at DMIR's and can read all about the requirements of using an angle grinder, including the need to compile safe work procedures. Note they do not state AJSA, it is clearly a safe work procedure that is required. There are numerous other links attached to this hazard, as well as several images. Sections of manuals, technical drawings, can all be used as images to provide user information. This master data for the hazard, angle grinder, can be modified at any time using the screen showing. It is a simple matter to add text, change images, or delete and add new links. This data is drawn into the procedure and can be edited once it has been copied across to an active procedure. The procedure users do not modify this data, they modify a copy of this data in the procedure. At the bottom of the screen for this hazard are two switches. One says Show on Autofill. The other says Checked on Autofill. Because there are several hundred assets, we have incorporated an autofill arrangement that will be explained at another time but is used to simplify entry of common hazards. So the angle grinder will show on the autofill screen for the procedure. We have two separate websites currently running, which we are populating with information we want to make available to every user. We clicked a link to view information on compressed air. There are numerous links to different information for compressed air, but this link takes us to one of our websites where we have information for many hazards for the user to look at whenever they want. This provision of information is provided to comply with the new regulations, which repeatedly state that information provision to the workforce is a legal requirement. It is not optional. There are numerous videos on these websites for the user to view at their leisure if they are unsure of anything. We will add videos of actual work steps of the procedures so users can actually see the work being done properly. This is a very simple process and the user has full control of what he wants to see. The videos can be taken by the user and uploaded if they want. We have a very simple video editing process where all our videos are processed offshore, so cost is very minimal. We use the same personnel who produce our training videos and run our learning management system. Another use for our websites is to provide actual site documentation so that users can understand requirements. We have brought up the hazard for lightning. One of the links is to the site policy for lightning that the user can open at any time. Document control is easily handled as the link directs to a web page address. If we change the document in the website, the user automatically goes to the new policy. This is critical as there may be 50 procedures using this one link. We do not need to change anything except the document in the web page, and all 50 procedures now point to the new document. There is a lot of information on these websites. You are looking at banned and restricted tools. Every site has a list. I would not have a clue what is on most of their lists because contract workers never have access to the information. Most information gathered by contract workers is word of mouth and is usually wrong anyway. So now let's build a basic procedure. This involves selecting the company, which opens up a selection of all company sites. Once the site is selected, all areas at that site are shown. I select what I want, then add the description of the job. All of this information being entered can be edited later if need be. What I am entering here is a brief description of the job. This job is a Wallman 10-8 wet end rebuild. In a real scenario, we would have an equipment number for this pump entered under the area selection. Once we are satisfied with the information added, we create the procedure. The procedure has the selected company, site and area at the top. Underneath is the description of the job we entered. There is a self-generated QR code, a unique number for the procedure, a date, and a version number for the procedure. The date and the version number can be changed to suit. The version number is important to ensure the workers have the current updated procedure, because you will see these procedures can be changed in minutes, unlike Word documents or AJSA. So I have added a good description of the job and what parts and tools are needed. Let's have a quick look at the layout of the procedure before we enter any work hazards. You will notice that the procedure is broken into sections. The sections are permits required, qualifications and VOCs. Tools, equipment, vehicles, work areas, work types, environmental, chemicals, general safety, and finally where all the work steps will be placed. I usually work off a question list to compile a procedure, but as this is just a demonstration, I will show you the absolute basics. We can open the autofill screen, and this shows all common hazards we regularly use. These hazards are set by the autofill selections in the hazards. Note some are ticked. If they are ticked, they will be written to the correct area of the procedure. You do not need to know where to place hazards, the program does that automatically. So I quickly scroll through the common hazards and select or deselect what I want added to the procedure. Don't worry, you can add hazards several ways and delete them from the procedure as well. The autofill is used as it saves making the same selections for every procedure. It is important to note that the hazards being brought into the procedure are copies of the master data hazards. It may be necessary to modify the hazards in the procedure, and we do not want supervisors or safety personnel modifying master data without it first being checked as suitable for other procedures. So when we are happy we have what we want, we click the Add to Procedure button. You can open the autofill at any time to add more hazards if you want. In a matter of seconds the selected permits, qualifications and hazards are placed in the correct location in the procedure. All hazards are categorized in the master data so that they are placed in the right section of the procedure automatically. An important point to remember is that the information in the procedure is a copy of the master data. Changes made to the procedure hazards do not affect the master data. Hazards can also be entered in the sections. As an example, we want to add some CRC to the procedure because we know it will be used on the job. If we click on the chemicals banner, it opens up a list of all chemical hazards in the master data. We enter CRC and find the two entries we require. Note that bringing the hazards in brings in all the links and images attached to the hazard, in this case SDS and other data, which is then instantly available to the user. There is also a full drag and drop facility of the hazards to organize them as you want. You can edit the hazards in the procedure by clicking on them and opening the edit screen. This screen is not available to all users, only supervisors and managers. In this screen you can edit the text, add or remove links, and add or remove images. The user also can add a link or an image themselves that is not stored in the master data. They have the ability to add their own information separate to what the planner or writer of the original procedure added. The user could take a video on the job, load it to YouTube, then link it instantly if they wanted to. So the user is not limited to a safe work procedure written by someone else. They can add information as required and if the job or the information changes. Adding pictures, images, video whilst the job is running is very easy to do and the procedure changes instantly. Deleting a hazard is simple. Here we delete the hazard for a car or four-wheel drive vehicle. We will add it back to the procedure, click on the Vehicles banner and a list of all vehicles in the master data appears. Select and insert is easy and takes seconds. We will edit the data imported for the vehicle to show how simple it is. The data for the vehicle has changed. No changes to this data does not affect the master data. You are working with a separate copy of data in the procedure. There is also the ability to add a new hazard that is not from the master data. Click on the blue cross to open up the Add New Hazard form. Enter the relevant department, what the hazard is and the risks involved. Add all controls necessary to make this hazard safe or lower the risks involved. This hazard is not part of the master data, it is stored nowhere but in this procedure, and it gives the ability to make changes when new hazards and risks appear that have not been documented or may never have been encountered before. You can also add links and images stored in master data, or select new images and links of your own choosing. Of course, these can all be edited or deleted as needed at any time. We added one link and two images, just to show how simple it is. Remember, links and images are only entered once in the system as master data, but they can be used hundreds of times by different procedures. It is one piece of data. So you can now see the new hazard we just entered, with the link showing. To see the images, click on the hazard, then click on the images to enlarge them. Normal users and super users have completely different screens with different permissions. A contractor doing the work can view the procedure, the links, the images, use the Take 5, the continuous improvement tools, Handover Notes and hazard reporting systems, but cannot delete or modify data. This is beyond the scope of this introductory video. A quick side step to show you what a user would see. You have been looking in the administration section. The user does not have the access that a supervisor, safety officer or manager would have. The user can open up the procedure relevant to his work. He can download the procedure to his phone, fill out hazard reports that send emails instantly to whoever we decide, depending on the criticality of the report. He can do the online Take 5 where all data is recorded for further use, fill out a continuous improvement notification, or add Handover Notes. All of these have the ability to attach images from mobile phones, and there is a built-in image editor. Once again, these are all outside the scope of this basic tour. This shows a download version of the procedure which creates a PDF with all links and images. This is designed to be used where Wi-Fi is poor or as a safety audit tool. Even a safety officer with no experience of the technical aspects of the job has all the information necessary to check the work and the controls without guessing. The information is provided to the worker. It is their responsibility to comply. There is clarity of the requirements, not an assumption that people know the site rules, which are usually inconsistent, not documented and confusing to many contract workers. So the person doing the work has no edit capability of the hazards or work steps. They can open links, view images, but they cannot change any data. We have clicked on a link in the hazard, car, 4-wheel drive, which takes us to a video about how to safely change a tire. This is a hazard that is very rarely covered properly and exposes many people with limited skills to very serious risks. Now this could be a quick video we put together ourselves. The user has instant access to any information we put in the procedure. Once again, the user cannot modify or edit the information. This is a task only admin and supervisors can carry out. An example is, a worker wants to know the emergency response procedure on site. He just clicks on the link, and he is taken to the site procedure. We will now quickly look at the All Hazards entry system. This shows you every hazard entered in the master data, and you can select which ones you want to add to the procedure. The program knows where the selected hazards go in the procedure. There are a lot of entered hazards, risks, and controls in the system. That is why we also have the autofill system, which we quickly stepped through previously. So there are multiple ways to find and enter hazards. We selected the lime storage area hazard, which is a work area type hazard. Click the Add to Procedure button, and the hazard is placed in the work area section of the procedure. So the hazard has been copied in from the master data hazards. It can now be modified if necessary by the supervisor. We will delete this hazard, as it was only a test and is of no value to the procedure. Now we look at the best part of the program. The most important part in my experience. The part where we provide information to your workforce about how to do the job properly. The hazards entered above in the procedure are for guidance. We now refer to them as the technical aspects of the job I carried out. This is what a safe work procedure is. It is not a JSA. It is a description of how to carry out tasks safely with a proper focus on the technical aspects of the job. The hazards are a byproduct of the work, so we focus on the technical aspects and the correct methods to carry out the work, then assign hazards as we progress. If workers do not understand how to do the technical aspects of the job, no handwritten JSA will help them. I could spend hours discussing the complete failure of JSAs to provide protection, especially on complex jobs. There is plenty of data available to prove what I am saying. So now we will enter a few work steps, remembering that a lot of work steps are never looked at in detail on a JSA, if they even get mentioned. Entering work steps is a simple process. I will enter 3 now, noting that I call them, this is work step 1, this is work step 2, and this is work step 3. I call them this to show you the difference between this procedure and a JSA. What we will be looking at is how dynamic this program makes a procedure. It is not a static Word document that cannot be changed, or a handwritten JSA that covers only a minor part of the job. So the 3 work steps are entered, and we realize we have them in the wrong order. There is a simple reorder facility that allows you to move work steps around or enter a new work step on the job or as the job changes. Notice how the work steps have now been reordered. This is important to remember as we add tasks and hazards to the work step. Anything attached to a work step gets moved with the work step if it is reordered. You will see how powerful this is as we progress, but remember, this is just a basic overview of the program. Another quick side step. You may have noticed the 2 fields, percentage complete and weight. These are for live tracking of the work progress. The work steps are weighted, all weights will add up to 100%. We allocate a portion to each work step. The first work step will probably be, have a team meeting. This may be allocated 2% of the total job. A later work step could be remove the cover liner from the pump with the lifting gear. This may be allocated 10% of the total job. As the work progresses, the supervisor changes the percentage complete. These figures will feed to another program that tracks this job, along with other jobs as it happens. On a shutdown there may be 10 jobs happening at once. This gives us a live update of the actual progress of each job and of the shutdown itself, viewed as it happens, from any location, with internet access. Once again, this is outside the scope of this introductory video.
Let's start filling out the work steps. You will notice we actually go into details about work steps and highlight all hazards for each work step. A handwritten risk assessment can never show this amount of detail or refer to hazards with comprehensive controls. Usually the first step is a team meeting run by the supervisor with all members of the team. Failure to have a team meeting, where workers do not know their roles and responsibilities, is common in the industry. Everyone on the job is to have input into the meeting. Now we will add a hazard to this work step. The hazard we will enter is called Team Meeting Hazards and Controls, and directs the worker to read the full team meeting hazard, already entered in this procedure. Add the hazard to the work step. It can be deleted or edited once it has been entered. The added hazard tells you where to go to look for the in-depth hazard and controls for team meetings. The reasoning behind this method is that with a multi-step procedure, there may be a lot of times a hazard is referenced. Some of the hazards are quite complex, unlike a single statement in a handwritten risk assessment. The next work step for this job is isolations and mobilization to the work site. There are hazards for both of these, already added to the procedure. Once again, all of these work steps can be moved, deleted, or edited at any time. Note that the mobilization hazard also references the use of vehicles and rules pertaining to travel, manual handling, storing goods in vehicles, and parking. Items usually mentioned once in an induction are in these hazards as they are relevant. No one remembers everything from an induction, especially if they move from site to site. So the hazard links have been added to the work step, and the user can now go to the previously entered hazards and make sure they understand all of the hazard controls and requirements. As an example, if a user loads an oxyacetylene set into the back of a ute or places tools in the cab of the vehicle, he is breaching the procedure. The oxy set flies out of the ute and causes a serious incident. The company has the work procedure, which the user has signed very clearly, stating that oxy sets must be properly mounted in the tray of the ute. There is no gray area, the controls are clearly stated. Now we are going to look at the most powerful part of the program, the ability to give the user very clear instructions, including video and images of the actual work step. I call the work step information for the work step, including videos and images. The ability for any worker on the job to instantly look at video or images of the work step, whether it is technical or safety information, is very powerful. A user can go to the work step in his phone and see how the job is really done. The workforce will provide the information to write the procedures. We add hazard links for a rattle gun and for manual handling to the work step. These have been entered previously in the procedure. Now we add a new blank hazard to the work step. This hazard is only relevant to this procedure and is not stored with the master data. This is not a hazard. It is used to add video and images that will be specific to this work step. We clearly state that in the text that this is just information, videos and images of the actual work step. We now add a video and an image that comes from the master data. The images and video links in the master data can be used by multiple work steps, multiple procedures. It is stored once in the database, and a link is connected to the procedure. What we are doing here on the second image is finding a file of a worm and pump exploded view on our computer and adding it to the procedure. This image does not get entered to master data. It is only visible to this procedure and is deleted if the procedure is deleted. We have added the information holder for the procedure. I will move it to directly underneath the work step using the drag and drop function of the program. Clicking on the link opens the video, which is just one I found on YouTube. The images we added are also now available to everyone. Of course, all of this can be edited, deleted, or moved to suit. There is more, but that is for the advanced section. This is really just a quick demonstration. Make sure you have a look at the program extras, the handover notes, continuous improvement notes, the auto email hazard report system, the Take 5, and the attendance module. Thanks for watching. Any comments welcome, as this is an ongoing work in progress and has many new features under development.